of Mexico is the Great Loop's longest open water crossing at 150 nautical miles. To those accustomed to land travel, 150 miles is 2.5 hours in a couch on wheels. On a trawler, traveling 7 miles an hour, 6.5 knots, it takes 21 hours and 25 minutes to cover that distance.
After the first few hours, you are completely on your own. There is no cell service, and marine radio is limited to line of sight. Our Starlink worked until it got rough. But as we didn't have an open ocean plan, Elon sent us a nasty gram about our violation of the terms of Starlink service and threatened us with an upgrade.
Because of all the transmission troubles and delays, the horde of loopers we were in the midst of at the rendezvous were far north of us on the Chesapeake Bay or taking in the sights of New York City. There were no loopers in Carabel. We were heading out alone.
The weather forecast for the open waters of the Gulf called for 1 or 2 foot seas near shore and offshore for the next 24 hours. We felt confident about crossing in these conditions.
We decided on 4-hour shifts. I took the first shift. As we slowly made our way offshore, our spirits were high. All the pre-departure stress and days of worry melted away. We've got this. It's going to be easy. It's flat as glass out here. Darina filmed the beautiful blue water of the Gulf.
Before we left, I was worried about being that far offshore. But once we got out there, it was calm and peaceful. Our tiny speck of a home on a giant blue sea. My first watch, I listened to YouTube videos, I enjoyed some music. The afternoon was warm and beautiful. The gentle swells and the confident beating of the big Ford diesel was reassuring. Alan, as always, the calm one, slept soundly in the salon, not a care in the world.
According to the Department of Defense website, the eastern Gulf of Mexico is extensively used by DoD to train fighter pilots and to experiment with directed energy weapons and hypersonics.
So we're being buzzed by F-15 Eagles at supersonic. It's pretty intense.
I don't know where it's right now. But the sound was horrible.
We spotted this giant Air Force beacon from 10 miles away, which at 7 knots is over an hour. From a long ways off, it looks like the mast of the sailing vessel. As we approached it, we discussed what it might be. When we were 4 miles away, our normal radar horizon, we realized how big it was, as it has a huge radar signature.
When you consider the hurricanes this thing has survived, it is an impressive monstrosity. As the water here is fairly deep, it must have cost the taxpayers a fortune. As I assume it's anchored to the bottom, it doesn't move with the waves at all.
We have no idea exactly what the military needs these things for, with all the warning signals attached to it and fighter planes buzzing around at Mach 1, we gave it wide berth.
As this is the only thing we saw in 21 hours, we filmed it extensively, coming, passing, and going.
Good evening, Captain.
Good evening, Admiral. How is the Admiral this evening?
Wonderful.
So we are at 2904 North, 8400 West, approximately 65 miles off the Florida coast of the Gulf of Mexico. We have 74 miles to an arbitrary waypoint 10 nautical miles west of Tarpon Springs. We're currently averaging about 6.7 knots. We've poured 15 gallons of fuel into our outboard tank from jerry cans on the back. So we're still essentially full of fuel, and we're going to fill the tank with jerry cans so that we don't have to change tanks underway until the very last minute. Seas have laid down quite a bit. We've got 2-foot swells with about a 3-second period it was a lot more rocking and rolling most of the day. So we're enjoying it. We're about to have a nice light dinner, and things are good. Now you might think that all you do is just sit here and stare at the chart plotter and look at the horizon, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Of course, no, because you need every time to pay attention on the course. You need to pay attention on the charts, which is in front of you. And plus, you need to adjust autopilot as we're using it right now. So, we'll explain you that before we started this video, I was doing my duty of piloting the boat. It was 4 hours for me. Right now we're switched, so right now Alan is in duty.
Seamoose has an analog autopilot that was built in like 1975, and the analog autopilot does not keep a straight course because it doesn't get any input from the chart plotter. So what you have to do is you have to watch on the chart plotter and you slowly swing off course to the right. And when you're about 50 feet off course, you have to tweak the Venmar just a little bit, and then you slowly swing over to the left about 50 feet, and that's about every 2.5 minutes. So how do you feel about running the boat all night? Because I've got the first watch from 7 to 11, and you've got the second watch from 11 to 3, and I've got the third watch from 3 until sunrise.
Of course it will be dark. I hope that stars would help me to see anything outside. And plus, of course, all devices which we have on the boat.
I think the only challenging part is going to be putting the last 3 jerry cans in, but we have a really nice bright light that lights up the back of the boat for when I do that, so I'm going to lose my night vision when I put fuel in, but then I'll get it back. So I think it's going to be a wonderful, beautiful
Sunset was spectacular. At our home in Ukraine and Michigan, in the higher latitudes, the sun sets quickly. In the southern latitudes, it sets slowly with an extended twilight.
The darkness enveloped us. We turned down all the illumination on our electronics and settled in for what we hoped was a long, boring night. At night, at sea, with a cloudy sky and no moon, it is impossible to describe how utterly dark it is.
As you cannot see what is coming, the motion of the boat can't be predicted, and you need to hold on all the time.
We use dim red lights on the boat to keep from losing our night vision. After an hour in near total darkness, they seem impossibly bright.
Alan took the first night watch from 8 p.m. to midnight. I tried to sleep, and maybe I dozed off for a few minutes. I remember having a short, horrible dream. Alan woke me up at midnight.
So, it's about 3:20 in the morning. When the sun went down, the seas became very calm, and we picked up speed to about 7 knots. It was delightful. And I went off watch at about midnight and went back in the aft cabin to get some sleep. And at 1 in the morning, woke up because I was being thrown violently around the bed. So came up, and the seas had gone from flat calm to 4 to 5 feet, very steep periods, and we were taking water on the windshield pretty much solid. So slowed down to about 5 knots. It didn't really help. So we altered course to about 110 to head closer into shore, because the forecast was that within 20 miles the waves would be much lower, which makes sense because the wind is out of the east. We did that at 1. It's 3:22. We're still just getting the crap beat out of us out here. Can't really show you because it's pitch black dark, but you can probably hear it. And we're hoping, if we continue on this heading of between 090 and 100 degrees, that we'll get within 20 miles of shore by 4 a.m.
and things will lay down a little bit, and we can turn south and continue closer to Tarpon Springs. Because we're about 6 miles off our original track right now. I mean, the boat's fine, the boat can take it. It's the people that are the issue. It's just not very pleasant. So, we'll let you know what happens. It got worse and worse. There was no course or speed that gave us any comfort. I could have turned and run behind the waves, but that would have taken us due west, away from land, and there was no way to know how long the rough conditions would last and how long it would have taken me to get back to the shore had I done that.
The only place Yorksie and I were comfortable was on the floor of the salon. It was impossible to stand or sit. Yorksie was shaking in terror. I held her in my arms and prayed to God that we would be safe.
I wedged myself in the helm seat with my knee and held on to the grab handle next to the door. The bilge pump cycled on and off again about every 10 minutes as we took water through the lazarette hatch at the aft end of the boat. I installed a big red warning light on the bilge pump. Every time that light came on, my adrenaline level rose and fell when it went off again.
During the entire night, Alan was calm, relaxed, and confident. He kept assuring me that Lady Moose could take far worse, and that yes, it was very uncomfortable, but we would be fine. Knowing we were miles and miles from land and having not to seen a single boat, I was terrified. And so was Yorksie.
Little did Darina know that I was thinking, come on, City Moose, hold together, and waiting for the sound of something big breaking loose in the engine room. At about 5:30 a.m., just before sunrise, Mother Nature gave us one last beating with lightning and a thunderstorm. By then, we were simply too exhausted to be any more scared. 6:15 in the morning. We're still just violently pitching. We're about 21 miles from the marina, probably 10, 12 miles offshore. And these are allegedly waves 1 foot or less, according to the forecast. They sure don't look 1 foot or less to me.
I was so happy to see the sun coming up as the squall line had passed the seas, lay down a bit, but not enough. 1, 2, 3.
Sun, yay!
You're exceedingly happy.
The sun is up. We're safe. Did you have a bad night? We all had a bad night, Yorksie. Admiral, and how was your evening this evening? Did you have a good time?
Not pleasant time.
No, it was not. It was a long, torturous 4 hours into Tarpon Springs, bleary-eyed and shaky. We pulled into the slip around 9:30 a.m.
All in all, we got the crap beat out of us for about 7 hours. During those 7 hours, time moved incredibly slowly. We found dead fish on the deck. Everything was covered in salt. We showered, ate, and slept.
For 17 straight hours. The next day, we learned just how nasty it had really been out there. Okay, you see this? Waves did that. Waves in the Gulf of Mexico did that. So how tall were the waves? 7 feet from here to here. And they did that. You see this over here? Waves did that too. So how strong does the wave have to be to push that off the boat? You know? Pretty amazing. If you like what you see, please subscribe. It really helps us out and it doesn't cost anything.
We really appreciate your attention and subscription.
So, Darina, how can people find out more about us online?
You can find us on our website page, here, on our Instagram page, here, and also on our Facebook page, here.
Once again, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to be reminded of new episodes when they come out, don't forget to ring that bell.
Thank you so much.